Hey folks, back with another video. Let's dive into what stories caught my attention today. Starting with the Ethiopia, the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF), which controls Tigray, said it had targeted two sites in Amhara state and warned of further strikes. Reportedly, hundreds have died, with reports of a civilian massacre emerging this week. The ongoing military operation of the Ethiopian army has forced at least 17,000 civilians to cross the border into Sudan, according to the UN sources, which has also published a video on their site. Of course, this was naturally what was going to happen based on the reality on the ground. The Tigrayans were bound to react, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about this in the coming days. Moving on, back in August, China had test launched two missiles known as the aircraft carrier killers. Now, it was revealed this week by a former Chinese military official that the missile hit a moving ship in the South China Sea to showcase the precision of the weapons in response to US military activity in the region. When the tests were initially reported, it was believed the missiles landed in the waters of the South China Sea, but a speech published on Wednesday by Wang Jiangzui, a former Chinese military officer, said the missiles hit a moving vessel, which was their intended target. The missiles traveled thousands of kilometers. One missile, a DF-26B, was launched from China's northwest province of Qinghai, and other DF-21D was sent from China's eastern Zhejiang province. The tests were done after a series of provocations from the US. Of course, throughout the summer, the US sent aircraft carrier strike groups to the South China Sea and stepped up military flights over the disputed waters, which was something that I have talked about in previous videos. But military exercises such as these are primarily aimed to make the West rethink any attempt to implement a regime change policy on Beijing. Now, personally, I do not want to see a regime change in Beijing, which is spearheaded by the West. My sort of simple solution to this is to get the Beijing to apologize to the Chinese people and reform and to not continue tyrannizing the Chinese people. Moving on, being a look in the Caucus region, in a bitter farewell in many various people in the many Armenians whose land was in a recent sort of an agreement in which, how should we say this, there was a deal. Now, in the deal, some land was to be exchanged between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and it seems that the Armenians whose land is to be given to Azerbaijan have reacted in a certain way, and that certain way is that they have been burning down their homes in a sort of a revenge sort of a way. Now, this new, let's just say, move has gripped plenty of people, and it's reported that about 600 people who are fearful and angry are destroying their own homes where they lived for decades. Now, the settlement, which is called Karvachar in Armenian, is legally now part of Azerbaijan, but it has been under the control of ethnic Armenians since the 1994 end of a war over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Now, that war left not only Nagorno-Karabakh itself, but substantial surrounding territory in Armenian hands. Now, Muslim Azeris and Christian Armenians once lived together in this region, however uneasily. Although the ceasefire ends the fighting, it aggravates ethnic animosity. On Saturday, a kilometer-long column of cars and trucks carrying fleeing residents jammed the road to Armenia. Scores of local people flocked to Dadivank, an Armenian apostolic church monastery dating to the 9th century, as priests removed sacred items to be taken away. Many of the visitors took photos of themselves at the site, nestled in the mountains near Karvachar, suggesting they did not expect to see it again. A small group of Russian peacekeepers watched from across the road, some sitting on their armored vehicles. The monastery's abbot, the Reverend Hovannes ter Hovanesian, walked over to greet them. Now, emotions are running high in Armenia as the people feel that they had made a net loss in the conflict. However, that is the nature of war. Some people win, some people lose. Moving over to Thailand, the the protesters have scaled a Bangkok monument on Saturday night to unfurl a giant banner scribbled with anti-government slogans and calls to reform the monarchy. The country has for months seen massive student-led demonstrations calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Chan O-cha, who rose to power in a 2014 coup, as well as a new constitution and changes to how the royal families operate. A crowd of several thousand turned out for a carnival-themed rally dubbed the Mob Fest at the Democracy Monument, a major intersection in Bangkok. In the afternoon, high school students and other anti-government demonstrators wrote in marker pens and spray-painted messages on giant white sheets. Bangkok graphic designer Pearl, aged 20, watched as a group of protesters used ladders to climb up the 3-meter-high central turret of the Democracy Monument as musicians played a drumbeat. King Maha Vajiralongkorn and Queen Suthida were en route to open a new train line elsewhere in the city, with thousands of royalist supporters wearing yellow turning out to show support. Now, in the afternoon, angry high school students calling themselves the Bad Student Movement rallied outside the Thailand Education Ministry before marching to join the main rally. The students are calling for an overhaul of the school system, curriculum, strict rules, dress codes, and standardized haircuts. Thai authorities have deployed 8,000 police to patrol Saturday's protest, which is expected to go until midnight. Police used water cannon against demonstrators at a rally last Sunday. It was only the second time such tactics were used. Thailand protests are as strong as ever. It seems that the Thai students are now expanding their demands that on the face are reasonable. Hopefully the Thai government can address the issues as soon as possible and bring an end to these demonstrations and protests. Moving on, Egypt announced on Saturday that it had discovered more than 110 intact sarcophagi dating back more than 2,500 years, making it the largest find of its kind in 2020. The sealed wooden coffins were found in 3 burial shafts 12 meters underground at the Saqqara necropolis just south of Cairo. The sarcophagi, unveiled amid much fanfare, belonged to top officials of the late and Ptolemaic periods, 712 to 323 before Common Era and 305 to 30 before Common Era, respectively, of ancient Egypt. Archaeologists opened one coffin to reveal a mummy wrapped in a burial shroud adorned with brightly colored hieroglyphs, the ancient Egyptian pictorial form of writing. Saqqara, home to more than a dozen pyramids, ancient monasteries, and animal burial site, is a vast necropolis of the ancient Egyptian capital of Memphis, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The latest find came just over a month after archaeologists in the area found 59 other preserved and sealed wooden coffins, also dating more than 2,500 years. The government is hoping that such discoveries will boost the country's tourism business, which has been hit hard this year by travel restrictions related to the coronavirus pandemic. Anani noted how archaeologists had found more than 40 statues of ancient Egyptian deities and funerary masks. Now, it was not immediately clear if the statues depicted any of the judge's family members, but one statue is believed to depict an individual by the name Heteb Ka, who was, quote, venerated by the king, end quote, Vaziri said. Now, of course, ancient Egypt has a deeper influence in our world, both in the West and Middle East. I am fascinated by ancient Egypt as their civilization has lasted for millennia, and I believe that the Egyptian civilization has crept into later later civilizations, and I believe it is a subpart of all the cultures here across the world. Well, and that's it for this video. If you like the video, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for future updates. Write in the comments your thoughts, comment, and criticisms you have, and I will see you in the next video.